All right, ladies and gentlemen, it may not be the same, but we are back here, and I'll get into that. But it's not about me right now. It is about Firestar Championship Wrestling because they have a huge show coming up here tomorrow night, and we've got several people that are involved in the huge show upcoming here. And one of those individuals here is going to be in the ring for a championship, a big time championship coming up here for the open weight championship against a man that has been on here on Sportswire many times here in the past. And we are looking forward to somebody that has been here with us several times on Sportswire Radio. He needs no further introduction. But because he's been a champion, he is a champion. He very well may be a double champion. We might be calling him Remus Two Belts tomorrow night. He's going to get it anyway. So, with wait for it. Further ado here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show, pro wrestling star here. One, I guess you may still say fourth, of the NSAW Tag Team Champions of the world, Remus The champ is here, my friend. How are you?
I'm very well, very well. Not 100% given recent news, but feeling very good after recent debuts, upcoming debuts, and successful championship defenses. And I'm sure we'll be getting on into all of that in this interview, won't we?
Oh, we sure will. And obviously, we have a lot to talk about here. But first of all, for those that are listening and eventually about to tune in here on Sportswire Radio, tomorrow night, you have a big show here. You have an opportunity to be Remus Two Belts. So for those that are listening and watching, I mean, talk about this and what this could potentially mean for you and certainly your career.
Well, it would be certainly quite the achievement. If Disciple can do it at NSAW and GT Ministries, I'm pretty sure I can do this at NSAW and Firestar.
Fair play, touche. Certainly, it's a big opportunity and it's a new challenge, and you've got several challengers here in this particular match to add to the resume here for your career.
Oh, absolutely. Well, to be honest, let's cut it. There's only two people in there that I could class as contenders. That'll be Young Horace and the champion himself. If we're talking about Firestar, at least, Leo McLean, the current.
He's the champion. You have to consider he's the champion.
Well, of course, it's only champion's courtesy to be able to acknowledge one champion to another, the actual threats in this match. The rest, look, I'll be honest, I don't really care about them. One of them was doing a promo up in the mountains somewhere. I couldn't even hear him because of the wind. And the other one is about as inspirational as a dead eel. There's nothing to him that even remotely phases me. I'm pretty sure there's some more, but honestly, there's only, like I said, two names that I need to even consider. Leo McLean and Young Horace. That's it. Young Horace, for obvious reasons, we've already fought. And Leo, because he's the champion. It'd be stupid if I didn't consider him a worthy opponent.
Well, the current champion, I mean, so obviously, I mean, when it comes to the current champion first, address him and your impressions of him so far in his run as Firestar champion.
You know, I've kept up with your work. You're good. You're very good. You know, I do see some similarities between the two of us. You're willing to do whatever it takes to be able to get your victory, and as someone who knows a thing or two about bending the rules, I can respect that. And you know, this whole thing, it's nothing personal. I just wanted to get into the ring with who I thought was one of the best at Firestar. And hey, I got exactly what I wanted. It'll be a pleasure to see you inside that ring, so I can see just exactly what you can do and Maybe I walk out with 2 belts. Maybe I don't. But I'm sure it'll be more than a pleasure all the same.
No question about that, and certainly I want everybody to follow Firestar Championship Wrestling here, and I want to give a big shout out to somebody here tuned in who's with us. Used to be on Facebook, but on YouTube, I'll explain that later on. There's Mr. Andrew Hanley. But when it comes to somebody like a young Horace, now young Horace, you have a lot of experience with. You've seen him in the ring. I mean, talk about how maybe in a way the pros and cons of that. Pros are you know what he can do in the ring. Cons are you have history and you have to still try to be able to not let that too much be of a distraction. So maybe talk about from those vantages.
If you were talking about anybody else dealing with somebody like young Horace, you may have a couple of points there. Yes, you are correct. We do have that history. We've fought each other inside steel cages. We've beaten each other within an inch of our own life. But I can remain quite objective when I want to. After all, I am Roman at heart. If there's one thing I know, it's how to fight, but also how to fight smart. I'm not just going to go in there and focus single-mindedly on Horace. Yes, I still consider the rest of the contenders in there nobodies, but they're still bodies that are occupying the ring. I can't just remain focused on just young Horace the entire time. However, I know for a fact that he will be doing nothing but focusing on me. He revealed that much when he addressed me in his own promo. He somehow thinks that I had something to do with taking out his tag team partner. Listen, if I wanted to do it personally, Horace, I would have easily done so. But I didn't. I didn't need to. Did somebody else do it? Quite possibly. But it's not an issue anyway. That match has become even more important by adding someone like me into it. What, you think the match would have got as many draws or as views if it didn't have someone like me in it? I'm Remus Kane. Promotions are looking to book me all over the UK. Firestar just being one example of that.
And you've been in several of them. There's no denying that. We've had you on here many times over the past year, and it was first, and you had some experience in UKW, but you've been really since what you in the society have done in NSAW and that company, you've been led to several companies. I can't deny you on that.
Well, it's not quite to the point where I can't count on all my fingers, but it's getting there. It's getting there, and it will get there soon enough. But Horace, your downfall in this match isn't going to be me delivering my final rights to you. It's going to be you not being able to take your eyes off of me. I know the moment that I walk through that stage entrance and go inside that ring, or even if I'm just waiting on the corner, waiting for my time to come in, you are going to be eagle-focused on me. And that's fine. Because I know what you're all about, Horace. We have that history. And that history tells me exactly what you're all about. I know we're going to beat each other to life's inch. It's expected. You are
fair plays.
You are the expected.
No, listen, and it's a fair plays, and certainly those points here are fair. And talk about the stipulations here, and obviously that wrestlers can be eliminated via pinfall, submission, DQ, or countout. Entering the ring when illegal can result in a disqualification. I mean, do you like the fact that disqualifications or countouts are added now to the elimination? I mean, how does that play into your particular role in this match?
Listen, countouts, fine, whatever. But I feel like some of these rules are trying to hinder me somewhat. So someone can't go in and break up a pin if they wanted to. In fact, no, thinking about it, that'd be a stupid thing to do, wouldn't it? Because that's one less competitor for you to worry about. But who doesn't like the chaos inside the ring? Who doesn't like it when there's multiple people
and
inside
I would think it's an open weight championship match. I mean, that's maybe your argument here. I mean, that's obviously a rule that was instituted, and I think one of those people that might have instituted that is our general manager, who's going to be here in a little while. That is Mr. Stuart Tunney, and we'll certainly say hello to him. Probably in a little over an hour or so, and certainly your society members have tuned in here. The name of Remus Kane will be known once across the UK scene enough soon enough. So certainly those are points here when it comes to that. And I mean, do you feel pressure in the sense that you have an opportunity to be Remus two belts? I know you've been the tag champion, the first ever tag team champion in NSO history. You've defended it in other promotions. You've had a lot of success there at that, but sometimes it works both ways. Do you feel pressure going into this because you could, as you've talked about, you've been booked at other companies, but now you could be booked even to the point where you're literally going to have to take this phone and throw it out the window?
Anytime I have the opportunity to get inside the ring, I latch onto it. I couldn't care less if that phone was ringing up every 5 seconds. If I can get inside that ring, no matter what promotion it is, I will get inside that ring. So, originally wrestling was just a tool for me, but I've grown to love wrestling. I really have. I've grown to love it more than anything because it's a perfect tool for me to do what I love most, and that's to scrap, fight, brawl, bite, tear, all of it. And what's better than that for me? Yes, for some people the prospect of having 2 titles on your shoulders seems daunting, but then I argue that means you have got no spine. If the mere fact of holding a title, hell, let alone 2 titles, is enough to put you off, you shouldn't even be in this business. What do you think we wrestle for? Yeah, we wrestle for the fun, I suppose, but the ultimate goal at the end of it is to become champions. What's the point if you don't have the drive to become a champion, let alone 2? What's the point? You've got to have that drive, because if you don't, you might as well lace up your boots and throw them in the river. For all the good it'll do you.
No, there's no question that you go into this business and you want to succeed, and certainly you have an opportunity. I wouldn't necessarily say to change the trajectory of your career, but some of your opponents, this is a stepping stone. You're already a champion, so you could go into the same. Not that you're not in already, but Disciple is a world champion in 2 promotions. He was for a long time the GTM champion along with the NSWA champion. You go and be the first ever NSWA tag team champion, and then be the openweight champion here in Firestar, a company that's got some really emerging talent and some established veterans. I mean, that's a huge leg up here. So, I mean, I could certainly see why you've answered the way that you have. And I want everybody, if you are out there, to please follow Remus Kane on Instagram at therealremuskane.society. So definitely give him a follow. Figuring about, I'd say 25 or 30 minutes, we'll hear from Mr. BMD. We'll get his story and the Big Daddy Battle Royal. We'll also hear from our general manager, Stuart Tunney. And certainly I want to thank everybody that is tuned in here. I know it's a little bit more lonelier here on our Sportswire. Hopefully things get settled one day, but it's not about me. But again, please follow Remus Kane, the real remuskane.society on Instagram as well. And you can also check him out on Facebook as well. So I'll come back to Firestar in a few minutes, but I want to talk about some other companies here of note. And you guys defended the tag team titles last week at Zenith, and you also defended them at the month's prior show at WAS's Deadline, their first ever show. So maybe talk about those things for a few minutes for those that might be watching and eventually listening to this out there.
Well, we'll start off with the first one that happened, and that was at the Wrestling Appreciation Society's
Yep.
show.
And we had the guys on. We had on the Phantom Phoenix and the real Owen Carter, and that's kind of a good segue.
Those two, as much as I can despise them and I can rag on them, it's very easy for me to do so. An open mic. I don't want to do that. Not
Okay.
with those two. I will actually give them the respect that they deserve. But I will only do that if they stop referring to themselves as Wrestle Kids. You know, they're not Wrestle Kids anymore. They went into a match with one of the most dominant tag teams in the UK scene right now, the Society, your current and hopefully longest reigning NSAW tag team champions, and they put on a hell of a fight. The crowd really wanted them to win. I could hear it. I could hear the crowd. They loved Phantom of the Outlaw. They loved Phantom Phoenix. They loved Owen Carter. And their passion, by God, their passion, that passion I was talking about just not 5 minutes ago, they have that passion, that burning hot drive, that desire to become champions. If they were up against any other tag team, they might have succeeded. But they were up against us, and they lost. And we gave them something that not many people have. Our respect. We shook their hands after that match. We gave them the respect that they deserve. That should tell you a lot about them. It should tell you everything you need to know.
And you certainly did. I guess there was sort of an olive branch because Mr. Carter himself wound up being in the match for the Youngblood Championship, which was won by Warhog. So, I mean, I have to ask you thoughts on that and maybe even to the fact that we saw Warhog walk away here with this Youngblood Championship. I mean, kind of, I guess, maybe a mild surprise here. Maybe not to those that have watched NSAW, I suppose, for watching that wrestler in another life. But, I mean, you certainly, I'm sure, have an opinion on that. And what did you think of Mr. Carter's, I guess, role in overall work in that match?
I'll quickly speak about Warhog because I find it funny that the last time I saw him, I booted his face so hard that he had to go and change his lifestyle so that he could win a match.
He referenced it. He referenced it in his promo at the end of the match.
I know he did. As for Owen Carter not winning that particular match, I didn't expect him to, truth be told. But I wanted to give him the respect that he was due. And I thought that if there was anybody who could live up to the name of being a Youngblood champion, it would be Owen Carter. We did debate on whether it would be him or Phantom Phoenix. The option was there to put them both in, but I thought it'd be too much of an advantage if we did that. And I do believe Owen Carter is the scrappier of the two. Genuinely. I feel like that title will find itself around his waist one day. I have a feeling. Now,
I don't think it's going to be yet, though. I don't think it's going to be yet, though, because Warhog doesn't seem like, after some of the things he said, which I'm going to refer to actually your group in NSAW in a second for. So Mr. Warhog doesn't, I think it's going to be tough for Mr. Carter to take that title away from. And Mr. Warhog wants to keep that title also handy for a while because of your brethren in the society, the lawman Kyle Kennedy, who we've certainly seen in the past. And in fact, we had him on, I think, just about before, unfortunately, I got locked out of Facebook. I don't think the lawman got me locked out of Facebook, but certainly he had a few things to say. And I guess he had some things to say about you guys, which I was surprised about. And I want to give you the opportunity to answer those things, and along with what Mr. Warhog had to say about the lawman, and hopefully maybe he returns, but I'm still kind of confused on all this.
Whether Kyle Kennedy returns or not, I cannot say. It's beyond me. I'm not a doctor. I don't work at hospitals. Whether he comes back or not for me to say. As for Warhog challenging Kyle Kennedy, truly, if nobody else manages to topple Warhog by then, Kyle Kennedy will be your second Youngblood champion. I know that for a fact. Kyle Kennedy, I still fully believe that Kyle Kennedy should have walked out of Deadline as champion. It is the greatest injustice that has ever happened. Just thinking about it, pisses me off. But I can see why it happened the way it did. I don't want to talk about that break too much. I want to address what Kyle Kennedy said.
Okay.
I understand. I understand his frustration. Maybe I should have checked up on him more. But I know that I was there when he went into the back. I was one of the first ones to find out that he'd broken his arm. We made sure to dedicate our victory to him on that night. When we hit our Destiny Killer, that final move on Phantom Phoenix, we did it in his name. We dedicated that victory to him. Maybe I was focusing my energies elsewhere when I was angry at the ref, because at the time I thought the ref had screwed him. I thought that Kyle Kennedy had just pulled a muscle, and the ref decided to use that as a stoppage excuse. Because let's not forget, going into this, Sammy Rice, they had reason to screw over Kyle Kennedy after everything that had happened, and I wouldn't have been surprised if that was the case. But they were doing the job. That's fair enough. Kyle, there's a reason I wanted you in the society. Because you and I don't always see eye to eye. I'm not calling everyone else in the society yes people. They are far from that. But I know people do not like to tell me the bad news, do not like to tell me the bad things if they can help it. You are the only one who tells me as it is. And I appreciate that. We can argue till the cows come home, but I respect you because you know what you're talking about. And you say it as it is. That's why we wanted you in the society. Not just because of your raw strength, but you are honest. I won't always like it, but I'll always respect it. That's one of the biggest reasons that we want you in the society, that we recruited you in the first place. What you said hurt, but it was true. I'm man enough to admit that. Decisions were made on that night at deadline, and they weren't the right ones. But at the time, I thought they were. But I know at the end of the day, Kyle, all of us were brothers and sisters in arms. And that will never change, brother. That will never change.
Do you have any regrets toward anything you guys did, or maybe in his mind didn't do when what happened occurred?
Possibly. But there's nothing I can do now. There's nothing any one of us can do now. And if anybody knows that any better, it's Kyle himself. I can do what I can. I have to be a leader. I have to make sure that I can lead the troops, the society, our brethren. And sometimes that means I don't get to be as compassionate as people think I can be. I mean, come on. Everybody views me as this soulless monster who goes around terrorizing everyone. And yeah, that's pretty much true.
Well, you have done that. I mean, I've known you over a year, and I've watched you in the ring, and I mean, you have kind of been a monster, and you are where you are for a reason, Mr. Kane.
Of course. But I am more than just that, even if ever so slightly. I care about the society and everyone within it. I can't show that care a lot. Because my focus has to be on doing what is best for all of us. At the end of the day, the society, we are soldiers. Fighting for a cause that only we believe in. We can't tell people what that cause is. But between us, we all know what that cause is. We all took that oath. We all drank the blood that we needed to. And I was there to give you yours, Kyle. Nobody else. Me.
He was your prized recruit here. I would say there's no question, and that's no disrespect, obviously, to Jenny and Callum, the upgrade. But I mean, Kyle was the guy that he put the society on the map. Kyle was the guy that got Ensaw into doors that a lot of people didn't think or even want Ensaw to be in. So we'll obviously see what the future holds, and we'll see what happens with Kyle. Obviously, we're going to have to see in 9 to 12 months. We'll see if Warhog even remains the champion here, because I still think you guys are certainly going to not let him off the hook. We'll see about the future of Owen Carter. I do have a couple of comments here I want to get to here. Our friends over at the IMF say, well, I'm back on. Yeah, I'm back on YouTube. Unfortunately, I am on Facebook. I did share the link here on YouTube. I unfortunately cannot stream on Facebook here because Facebook is saying I have a temporary block, and I still don't know why. I had tech support help from other people out there and actually restarting my laptop, clearing the cookies, deleting all the content. It still didn't work. It actually said that I had a code that didn't recognize, but we do say hello to Omen Black. Omen is the IMF champion of the world. You can follow our friends over at the IMF on IMF_wrestling, IMF Wrestling 666 on YouTube as well. And I also want to shout out a couple of people on YouTube here that are also tuned in actually through Facebook, but through the link itself. I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Brawl Pro Wrestling. And Brawl says, we here at Brawl would like to wish our friends at FCW all the best and all the luck with tomorrow's show. They also say that Mr. Kane is someone we are keeping a close eye on. Our friends over at Brawl. It's what we do. We know Brawl very well. And I do have to ask you then, I mean, is there some other companies I heard through the grapevine that you actually wrestled in this past week? No, it's not just Ensaw. No, it's not just WAS, but another company that we actually started doing some work with 2 weeks ago. And you want to fill us in for that?
Yes, New British Promotions. They reached out to me recently. They wanted people to go into their Rumble, which, correct me if I'm wrong, it was for a certain title they were debuting, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was the King of the Old School Championship, because we had a participant on from there that I think you might have saw firsthand in the ring with.
Yes, I remember. I'd remember more of it too if I wasn't so angry at Supersonic Sammy Blue for what they did. I mean, listen, I went into that ring and I started kicking everyone in the face, straight up. First person I saw, Yorkshireman, went straight in there, started kicking him down, started kicking everyone that I saw, tearing them all down. And then who do I hear after me? Who's the next entrant in? Oh, it's only your so-called super best bud, Sammy Blue, just meandering their way through the crowd, showing off that Northern Division title. Still sour about that. And then they get in the ring, and the first person they go for is me. Listen, I'm all up for scrapping with Supersonic Sammy Blue. You know that. If anything, I enjoy fighting him. But the last thing I need is for Sammy to come up running behind me and start laying down into me and being the reason that we both got eliminated. He threw me over the top ropes. I managed to land just on the apron. Absolutely fine. Charges at me. I shoulder check him. I drag him over the ropes. And then he starts wailing on me. We both hit each other. And he gives enough force to knock us both off. If there's anybody who deserved it, I could have gone into this with 3 belts by the end of Firestar Championship Wrestling tomorrow. I could have gone in with 3 titles. 3!
I don't even know what I call that. Do I call it, I guess, Remus Tri-Belt? Is that what I'd have to say, maybe? 3 for try, I guess? Or 3 belts? Maybe Remus 3 belts, if that's such a thing?
You could have called me the new belt collector of the UK, and I could have gone on to do far better than Kenny Omega ever would.
I was going to say, I mean, because Kenny Omega is not winning too many matches these days, and you would basically be the standard bearer, I guess. I wouldn't even say in the UK, but I dare say in all of professional wrestling. So you had that opportunity there, Mr. Kane, and what a huge lift that would have been, even for an already stacked Firestar Championship show, and that would have certainly gave you maybe even further momentum going into this open weight championship match.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, come on, being able to say that you were not just the first ever tag team champion, but also then say you were another first ever champion at another promotion. Come on. Who else can say that they've done that, really? Who else can say that they've been to 2 different promotions and say they were the first ever of anything? Not once, but twice. Twice!
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think about that because this actually came up on a recent Sportswire show before I was blocked on Facebook. So that's a fair play here. And obviously, you've had some history with Mr. Supersonic Sammy Blue at another company, GT Ministry. So I kind of think maybe that's where some of that also comes from. Because if I'm not mistaken, I believe you took a pinfall from Mr. Supersonic Sammy Blue there, or you had some beef. You lost a match in there. So that seems to be it's been in multiple companies. You've had some issues there when it comes to Supersonic Sammy Blue, but certainly I want everybody to follow our friends over at NBPW at NBP Wrestling. So please make sure you follow them on Instagram. Also check them out on Facebook. I do want to say hello to some people. Felix Jones. Felix, I know, will be a guest on Sportswire. We're trying to reschedule everybody because unfortunately I lost that 6 days. So if you were scheduled on Sportswire, you'll be back on starting probably later this weekend or into next week. So I'll be in touch with everybody here. Our guest here in about 10 or 15 minutes, Mr. BMD, says good evening all. And the nemesis, James Taylor, and want to give him a big shout out if you're on YouTube out there. It's Taft Taylor. He's got over 30, just about 31,000 plus subscribers. He's another one of the guests that I'll have to reschedule here. But I want to come back to Firestar because I want to talk about the match here because I have you and I realize I only have you for X amount of time here because we've got an action-packed show here because unfortunately, well, I've lost so much time here. It feels like 6 days feels like for me losing like 6 different years when it comes to coverage on Sportswire. But you've got some other opponents that, I'm not as familiar with, and you certainly would not be familiar with. Morgan Daly would be one. Kieran Young, Kyrwan, I saw against Hammerhead Smith. I think he's going to be somebody that is going to also be one of the competitors. It's going to probably be somebody you have an eye on. But how do you prepare for a Kieran Young and a Morgan Daly here? You've obviously given me the story on Young Horace. I've had Young Horace on Sportswire a bunch of times. He's coming back on. I know you know Young Horace. You saw him in the Rumble also this past Monday. You've seen him in Enso in that locker room. So I got that story. Leo McLean, you caught his promo undoubtedly here not too long ago. Got all that. But give me a perspective on a Kieran Young and a Morgan Daly, how you prepare for them, because those might be guys that might have kind of come in here and just kind of take that shot for you to be Remus Two Belts.
If that ever happened, and I let that happen, I will hang up my boots before I even lose to those individuals that you just named there. Listen, I don't need to care about who they are. They're not important to this conversation. Yes, everybody's going to be saying, oh, but what about these people? What about these people? Who cares? At the end of the day, they're all wrestlers. They all have weaknesses. I can find out what those weaknesses are very clearly because everybody's on about, oh, Leo's promo. Oh, Young Horace's promo. Oh, Kairon's promo. The one who was wearing panda skin. I feel like Peter should be all over him for that. Listen, I released my own promo as well. And I showed everyone exactly what I'll do. Tear them apart, piece by piece. Finish them off, and done. It's a tried and true method that I have used with everyone. I don't need to think about who they are. I don't need to be worried about, oh, if they've got some secret skill that I've got to worry about. Every wrestler fundamentally is similar. They all share the same body. They all share the same weaknesses. Some are weaker in other departments than others. Say one of them has a bad leg. Ankle lock. Say one of them has, I don't know, a weak neck. I'll apply in my chokehold. Say they're unusually afflicted by trauma. And if that's really an issue for you in wrestling, maybe you should quit. I've got plenty of moves for that as well. I don't need to worry about these other wrestlers. All I need to focus on is what I need to do in that match. Plain and simple.
Okay, all right. I mean, certainly it's easier when you've seen somebody in the ring and you kind of get a sense of what they've done. I would say on Chiron, I've seen him in a number of different promotions like yourself. I would say he is a very impressive opponent. He does bring, how can I put this, a little different element to this match than maybe some of the others. And I am still talking about his match with people with Hammerhead Smith in another company you've certainly dabbled in CCW, our friends over at Colory Championship Wrestling. And the champion is also here himself, Mr. Leo McLean. He says good evening. And I would like to give you the opportunity. Would you like to personally address the champion, Mr. Leo McLean? And what would you like to say to him now that he's tuned in?
Leo, pleasure. Glad you could make it to this. I know, smaller audience than usual, but we've already gone into why. I'm just going to say this. I'm going to do what's needed to be done in that match on Saturday. I don't need to say anything else beyond that. I'm going to walk in, do what I need to do, and leave. You can count on that, Leo. Because I feel like these need to do a lot more speaking. Especially if I can't hear them over the sound of wind over in the promos.
Okay, well, that was some strong words there. I do want to say hello to some more people. Your brethren in the society, the lawman Kyle Kennedy, Mr. Sportswire himself, says evening. Also have here a new person, Robin says evening, gentlemen, saying, hi, Robin. Hope you're well. Thank you for tuning in on YouTube. And if you like what you hear from us and you're on YouTube, give me a subscribe now, a sub here, because I'm on YouTube at Sportswire Radio, Sportswire Radio 6579, because I'm still sharing the shows on Facebook, but you can't, I guess, comment inside them. You can comment underneath and I'll read the comments off, but you can still do that. You can actually, I guess, click on the link through Facebook, because I'm still on Facebook through my laptop. And speaking of people that are tuned in here, that is the CWE UK champion there, Mr. Big Cheese Logan himself, who's on YouTube. Got a lot of subscribers. He had a post, I think, got 3,000 views recently on YouTube. Says, I'm so used to viewing via Facebook. Yeah, it's a little lonely right now. I'm hopeful it'll come back, but I have no idea at this point. And he says here some cheesy words, which I know are not going to happen here, that he'll make you tap out in 60 seconds. I don't think that's going to happen.
No. I've got to address this. I have to address this.
Address him. Yeah, address the Big Cheese Logan.
Oh, just to let you know, nobody has ever made me tap out. Nobody. You can look at every single match I've been in. I have never been tapped out.
I have watched you a lot. I have watched you in 1, 2, 3. I've personally watched you in 4 companies: WAS, UKW, GTM, and NSAW. So, I mean, that is a fair point. I can't argue that here. So, I have to ask you here as we're getting ready for closing thoughts, and we'll have BMD here. Give us about close to 10 minutes here. So, I'm going to ask you the obvious question. What would it mean to you to be the Firestar Championship Wrestling Openweight Champion?
I suppose I could give the same spiel that I gave when I was talking about this title right here, what it meant to be a...
It's a pretty title, by the way. I have to say, it's one of the prettiest belts. I mean, Big Cheese got a title in his own right, but look at that championship. For those that are tuning in there live right now, that's as pretty as a belt you're going to get.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Being a champion as it is, you go into this match, especially so, and you understand the weight that is on the shoulders of the individual in question, especially when it's not your own title on the line. You know that weight. It's a big weight to carry around, not just physically, but on your mind as well. Knowing that at any point you could lose that title. Maybe I don't walk out the match as champion, or at least as 2 belts, Remus, as we say. I'm still going to be walking out as a champion, and I'll have still made my impact, because that's what I aim for the most. Even if I don't win a title, I aim to leave making an impact. It's a big word that everyone uses nowadays. You could enter into a company, win a title, and people may forget you in a month. Genuinely. But if you go in and you do something that shocks the audience, leaves them remembering it for years to come, now I think that's far more important. Because then you have made history. And that can't always be achieved with a big slab of gold. But that's what I'll be aiming to do this Saturday. Making history. And that's as easy as it gets for me.
And Mr. McLean would like to respond. He says, I can respect that. We both have our plans for the match, so let's bring our all. And this is another reason why you must go and please support our friends over at Firestar Championship Wrestling. You can follow them on Instagram at Firestar Championship Wrestling. You can also support them on Facebook, and they have shared our interview here on the Firestar Championship Wrestling group. And there may be just a few more tickets available out there to go to the Rippondan Club. That is at 212 Halifax Road. That is in Rippondan. So if you have an opportunity, please make sure you go out there and buy a ticket. Adults, it's only £8. Family, £20. Doors, 6:15 open. First match is 7 p.m. and it's a stacked card already. We're going to see, obviously, the legendary Martin Kirby. You saw Martin Kirby at Ensaw, and he wrestled the man you referenced a little while ago, Mr. Supersonic Sammy Blue, and that was quite a match, and he'll be wrestling Steve Valentino. We'll also see the champion, Rockstar Rob Bagwell, in action against Hammerhead Smith. Referenced him not too long ago. And Tom LaRufa. We've seen Tom LaRufa. In fact, I've watched Tom LaRufa as an American in places like Impact Wrestling, NXT. Very familiar with him. That's a huge coup here. And also going to see TJ Sky, West Danger, KT Gold. And tickets are still available out there. You can go to the Firestar Championship Wrestling page. And obviously, a match here that I'm excited about. That is our open weight championship match between Morgan Daly, Young Horace, who we certainly are no strangers to here on Sportswire, and somebody you referenced quite a bit, Kieran Young, Kaya Ron, and the champion himself, Mr. Leo McLean, and Remus Kane, who has the opportunity to be Remus Two Belts. And BMD is going to talk about his match here coming up in a few minutes. And let me ask you one more question before I get to kind of a two-part closing thoughts here. Do you feel, let's say you win tomorrow, you win this championship, not only do you win this in a way for the society, make you guys an even more forceful group, because you could say that Disciples group in GTM is on the run now because Disciple lost his title. I think about groups in Odyssey Pro Wrestling. I think that they've certainly, the Spotlight, now they lost their championship. I think about the LWF, the Wrecking Crew. Davey Getsky loses his championship, loses his first name. Society has the opportunity here, I would say, to be the most forceful group in the UK. And on top of that, represent Ensor is Remus Two Belts. I mean, what does that mean to you on both those fronts?
Well, let me start by saying that we certainly wouldn't fall apart if we lost these belts like I've seen other groups do. I mean, come on, if the only thing that was holding you together was the championship gold, what kind of faction were you to begin with, really? Disciple, get your boys in line. Otherwise, I may just have to show you that my spine buster truly is the better one. But
I knew that was coming.
Regardless, what it would mean, I suppose it would be the same if Callum Majakester became the Northern Division champion. If Carl Kennedy became your UK Wrestling TV champion. If Jenny Hayes became a women's champion of any promotion. I've been hearing things or two about that, but shh. For now. And for me, becoming an openweight champion, that would certainly improve our standing. Not that our standing isn't very high as it is already, but would only add to it. We are a fast rising group in the Yorkshire scene, in the UK scene. In fact, very soon, maybe even the American scene. And I'll answer that in a bit. I'll answer that in a bit.
All right.
But I'll wait until your second question.
All right, so obviously I'll segue because you kind of answered the whole situation with the society. I think Enso, you've kind of answered in a way with that, so that's fine. So I'll ask you then my two-part last question here, and obviously you touched upon a number of different things here tonight, and obviously, Mr. Kane, want to thank you for this opportunity. Literally just 24 hours before showtime here. So my first of two parts here is, what do you want to say to anybody that is going to watch you tomorrow night for the first time as a part of Firestar Championship Wrestling? And you touched upon Mr. McLean already, but I'll give you the opportunity to any final thoughts or words that you have for Mr. McLean and the rest of your opponents tomorrow night there at this match here, which could certainly determine you being Remus Two Belts.
For those who haven't seen me before at Firestar Wrestling, prepare for some, shall we say, fireworks. And for the people in the ring who don't know me, go ask young Horus what I'm all about. Go ask him what I can do inside that ring. Because if I recall, he's only ever had one victory against me. And I fought him inside steel cages. I've beaten him to an inch of his life with a steel chain. I have done all sorts of things that you should never do to a man. I did them all. And if you give me that opportunity to do so in that match, I will do just that. I will show you just how I became your NSAW Tag Team Champion. I will show you a level of viciousness and brutality that cannot be matched by anyone. And I will smile all the while. And Leo, show me why you are champion. And make it as fun as you can. Because I know that's what I'll be having. Nothing but fun.
You've always had fun. I've known you a while. I've watched you in the ring. You've always had fun. A lot of times, no doubt, it's at others' expense because, well, you are Remus Kane and the society all rise. And certainly we have kind of all risen tonight here and gotten a chance to cover a number of different things here. So obviously, we'll have to see if your career changes even further in a trajectory and the rest of the society as well. And obviously, shout outs to them, especially Jenny, certainly the rock idol of the UK, and also Callum, the upgrade Majakester, and certainly the lawman Kyle Kennedy as well. Can never forget about the lawman Kyle Kennedy, and we'll see what the future holds for him. But I think the future right now looks like Remus Kane is going to be one of the favorites. I would legitimately say you are up there. If there's anybody that can usurp Mr. McLean's run, and Mr. McLean has been very impressive. I've had him on twice. I had him before he won the title, and I had him after he won the title. So I know Mr. McLean very well, and I actually watched Mr. McLean some of his footage here just before we went on the air. So I'm very, very much here well familiar with him, but I'm more familiar with you, and I'm certainly looking forward to seeing maybe even what young Horace one day has to say. But I want to give you the opportunity for some closing thoughts. I'm almost curious if you have anything else to say, promote, and maybe even that American reference I would love to know about because hopefully maybe I could meet you actually here in the United States of America because you certainly are international and you are Remus Kane and you have to get the floor here and tell us about that. Anything else you want to share, plug, say, and the floor is yours, my friend.
Well, first of all, I'll plug my YouTube. You can find my YouTube channel, Remus Kane. You can see all my works on there. You can
I
also
watched your
find
most recent match that's posted up there, which is kind of a while ago, but I did watch it.
Yes, back when he was a part of the faction.
Ooh,
But
don't even mention him. Don't even talk about him.
exactly. And you can also find me on Facebook, Remus Kane. And you can also find me on Instagram that Tom referenced earlier. And you'll be seeing me at multiple promotions: Non-Stop Action Wrestling, Firestar, Championship Wrestling. You've also seen me at New British Promotions. And you'll only see me at more and more. I'm looking at you, Brawl. And to touch on the America thing, yes, because you see, In Orlando, there's a little villa calling out for my name for 2 weeks. At the end of September and the beginning of October, I will be in America for 2 weeks. And I want to know during that time, remember the last 2 weeks in September and the first two. Did I get that right? August was September. Yeah, no, September. Forgetting the dates.
You're a champion. You're a busy man. I understand, Mr. Kane. You're a very, very busy man these days. Forget where you are to where, when, and run.
The last week in September, leading into the first week of October, you'll find me in Orlando. And I want to know if there's any promotions that are willing to take on Remus Kane right here to have the NSAW Tag Team Champion 1/4 in their own rings in America, so I can truly say that I have wrestled internationally. Maybe they won't hear it at first, but I'm pretty sure there'll be some people interested in having a specimen like me inside that ring and giving their American boys and girls the true Remus Kane experience.
Well, famously, there was an album called The Jimi Hendrix Experience. Are you experienced? And that certainly went international, and it set the world afire, and it literally changed the landscape of music as we know it. Could Remus Kane be on the cusp of changing the wrestling scene as we know it and giving us the Remus Kane experience? You've seen him in NSAW, you've seen him in NBPW, you've seen him in GTM, UKW, Blackheart Pro Wrestling. Can never forget about Blackheart. And we're going to see him tomorrow night at Firestar Championship Wrestling. And I have a feeling that we might be on the cusp of the Remus Kane experience. That's why you need to follow him on Instagram at the real Remus Kane.society. And also, you can follow him on Facebook. So, Mr. Kane, we're going to see if the Remus Kane experience leads you to belt number 2. Currently, stay tuned, and I'm looking forward to watching you. And I have no doubt that we're going to speak with you again. I will remind you, the last time I had a wrestler call out about coming to America, that wrestler you probably heard of named Jenna. And right afterwards, he wound up getting booked. So I would say that never say never. So could you be 2 for 2? We'll have to find out, Mr. Kane. But I certainly wish you a lot of luck, and I have no doubt I'll be speaking with you very, very soon, and we'll see what the future brings for you.
Absolutely.
All right, and that was Remus Kane here, 1/4 of the NSAW Tag Team Champions. The Society will see Remus Kane tomorrow night for that open weight championship, that 6-person elimination match where only 2 men can be legal at the same time, and eliminations count now as DQ, count out, pinfall, or submission. So it's pretty much any means necessary. We'll see how this impacts Mr. Kane, but judging by what he said tonight, Leo McLean, Mr. Kane is coming for you. You better be certainly on your best behavior, and you better be prepared for what's to come. So thank you, everybody, for listening to Mr. Kane. And now we bring on here a big man that is no stranger to us. He had to wait, but I promise you it's going to be one for the ages here. They call him the Northern Enforcer. We have seen him in several different companies, but we are going to see him once again here in this really, really historic Battle Royal that has been shook up here. They call the Big Daddy Battle Royal, and he is going to be one of the favorites here, undoubtedly one of our favorites here on Sportswire Radio. They call him the Northern Enforcer, but he needs no further introduction, but we're going to give it to him anyway. So it's wait for it. Further ado here on the Sports Report, the number 1 global sports pro wrestling star here. They call him the Northern Enforcer, Mr. BMD. Wanted to give you a little bit of a new one there, my friend. How are you tonight?
That was a new one. Yeah, man. Good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing. Obviously, unfortunately, on Facebook, we've had a little bit of an issue, but we are trying to make the best of it. We have a lot of people here that are tuned in, so I really appreciate those that have certainly hung in there. I have some people that are messaging me, am I on Facebook? And I said, yes. I actually shared the link through my Facebook page at Tom Bryce at Sportswire Radio. You can come in here, make an account, say hello, but there are people here. But let's get to you first, because obviously you are going to be a part of a match that I think a lot of people are going to be watching, and certainly it's been shook up here, and we've got some comments for it. I'll get to them on Facebook. I do have a few. I have some others here on YouTube, but I mean, how are you feeling going into this match here? Certainly a lot on the line. It's been shaken up here by the fact that Big Duncan has just entered. So how are you feeling going into it just about 24 hours or so before showtime here, BMD?
I'd be lying if I said I was calm right now. I'd be lying if.
Well, last time I saw you and Palmer, the Necessary Evil, it seemed like there was a war of words, which I'm expecting is going to carry over here, BMD.
If I'd be lying if I didn't tell you the world was falling out my backside right now for how big this truly is. This is the biggest match of my career. This is for a man that put wrestling on the map in Britain.
Yep.
It doesn't get much bigger than this for me. You know, it's an honour to be a part of. And amongst the other people who are in that ring, such as Big Duncan, such as Palmer, such as...
I'm getting to him. He's been saying a lot tonight on Facebook, so I'm going to get to him. Don't you worry.
And also Slugger Hampton as well.
I know you know him very well. You've got some real history, Mr. Slugger.
It's been a while. Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting encounter. A lot of the guys in that ring I've known in the past. Some good, some not so great. But it's going to be explosive.
Oh, no question. It's going to be explosive. I feel like Remus Kane just used the line fireworks, and definitely the fireworks are going to certainly explode like here in America would be the 4th of July. There was a David Lee Roth song, famously, former singer of Van Halen, where he referenced that the fireworks are going to be sparkling like there's no 4th of July. But certainly when you've had opponents in the ring that you've had experience with, and I'm curious on those that you haven't been in the ring with. It's a battle royal, so it's not like Remus, where Remus is coming on, you're in a match, and you kind of have to go about things in a way that you have an idea about. But when you're in a battle royal, and especially with participants you're not going to have been in the ring with, how do you go and plan for something like this?
You know, you're right, there is a good percentage of people that I've not met in this wrestling scene yet, and you don't doubt them. You don't think, oh, I can chuck him out easily. You've got to come prepared.
The size of you guys, you think anybody's going to be really chucked out that easily, considering all you guys? Come on.
Exactly. We're all big dudes. But the thing is, with people I've worked in the ring, I sort of know what their next move could be. But that's just as dangerous because they know what mine could be. But with the people we've not been in the ring with, they're completely unpredictable. I mean, people like Big Duncan, I mean, Jesus, I saw the picture yesterday of him announced. I gulped.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way. My first thought was, don't eat me.
At least you're not in the ring with him.
That's fair. Fair play. Fair play.
I mean, I'll give him my all. I'll give everyone in that ring my all. But I think the rest of us are going to have our hands full tomorrow night with Big Duncan in there.
Oh, absolutely. No question about that. Let me get to some comments here because people do want to talk to you. I want to give a big shout out to our friends Solo Run _91.
Oh, boy.
BMD will knock you out. I think he was referring to Remus earlier. The one and only BMD. Well, I'm not going to repeat that because we still are a family show out here on Sportswire. Solo Run says, we love you, BMD. We love you, BMD. We do love you. We love you, BMD. Is it like the BMD theme song here almost? There's only one BMD. Yes, there is. There's only one. Well, I'm going to not repeat those things. I have a ton of comments here. Leo McClain has a good one here. Kind of move away from that. How are you getting to now? Is it Rippin Din? As someone who couldn't wait for tomorrow's show, I'm here in my hotel right now and could use a pub. So I mean, you want to answer that and give me the pronunciation because I feel like I'm butchering something here, and I apologize to the good people of. I guess it's Rippenden. I mean, tell me
You
what
got it
I'm.
right. You got it
Oh, I
right.
did.
You said
All
it
right.
right this time.
I appreciate.
You were
that.
saying it wrong earlier with Remus. In
Remus.
there.
Yeah, I figured that. I didn't
Yeah,
want to ask
Rippenden.
Remus that because I don't think Remus would have given me the opportunity to have figured that out.
Well, I'm a nice guy.
Okay,
Leo, I'm
appreciate that.
actually going to be heading up tonight, my guy. So we're going to be there first thing in the morning. So maybe not a beer, maybe a breakfast though.
Okay, all right. No beer tonight. Okay, fair enough here, and we'll have to see. I'm sure you'll see the champion. And Solo says he will drink you under the table. There's only one BMD. BMD gets white girl wasted, and we do strip teases. Fair enough here. I'm not going to answer
Just
all
don't
those
read
things.
them.
Yeah, I'm not going to read them, but I will say thank you to these people here, and I'll certainly give them a sub on YouTube when I'm off the air because I can't do it now as I'm on the air. But I want to thank everybody that is tuning in. But I have a good one here from an individual.
Okay.
And are you ready? I mean, are you seriously ready tomorrow night? Because Palmer kind of got into your skin a little bit. I'm going to get to Palmer because he's got some comments through Facebook. I'll read off in a second. But I mean, Palmer to me tried to show, and I felt the last time I had you on was just about on Easter, almost 2 months ago now. There was like a different BMD, and I'm curious, especially for the Firestar fans, they're going to see you back in the ring tomorrow night in Rippenden. I mean, are you ready? And how much of what maybe Palmer said to you is impacting on how you go about this?
Look. You can't let other people get into your head like this, man. It's if you let them into your head already, then they've already won the battle.
Sure.
You've got to come into this clear and focused. Am I ready? Absolutely, I'm ready. But do I know what's going to happen tomorrow? No, because I'm not a mind reader. But what I can tell you is I'm ready to give everything I've got in that ring. You see,
Okay.
there's been a long build up to this. This isn't just like a normal grudge match that I'm going to walk into. This is the biggest match of my career, and I don't take that sentence lightly because I'm walking into something dangerous. I'm walking into something that could be rewarding. I could be walking into something that sends me into A&E. I just don't know. But I'm ready to give it my all and make an impact. You will have me kicking and screaming to get me out that ring.
All right, well, we're going to have to find out. Certainly want everybody to follow BMD on Facebook. And I apologize I didn't tag you earlier because I just realized your Facebook is at the Northern Enforcer. So please make sure you follow the Northern Enforcer on Facebook. Also, our friends over at Firestar Championship Wrestling. And, I mean, there's a lot of history at stake. We spoke a little bit about that last time you were on the air, but now as we get closer to it, it's one thing. I spoke with Remus, and Remus had maybe his own trajectory that could change in his career because he could now be a double champion, but also a tag champ and a singles champ. So that's a different change of his career. But for you, you could not only win this battle royal, springboard your career, but it's also a battle royal that has history in British professional wrestling. Do you feel maybe a lot of pressure going into this because there's a lot on the line, not only from a personal standpoint, but also from a historical perspective here?
Oh, absolutely. There's so much on the line at stake. I know this isn't a title match, but it's almost like a different entity. Almost, it's
Sure.
It's hard to put my finger on it. It's there is a lot at stake. Obviously, not just myself and the other people that are going into this match, but there's heritage. we're not just doing this for ourselves, our families. We're doing this for British wrestling because if there wasn't people like Big Daddy, Mike Jones, Giant Haystacks, there wouldn't be British wrestling. It's a different kettle of fish when it comes to British wrestling.
Yeah, there's no question that I feel like that in some ways, some people rise to it, others, it puts them in almost not in a box, but it puts them in an awkward position. So it's kind of how you rise to it. And there is somebody else that is tuned in here. There's going to be in attendance that is Mr. BMD. There's Mr. Big Cheese Logan. And Mr. Big Cheese obviously was here with us before with Remus. He's the CWE UK champion, and he'll be in attendance. And he was in the ring not too long ago with the Necessary Evil Palmer. So maybe you have to give the Big Cheese some credit. And here's why. Because he and Palmer had a war that people are still talking about all over the UK scene. So maybe BMD, one reason you might be able to win this is because Mr. Palmer, you've got him right where you want him, because the Big Cheese certainly made some, I wouldn't say cheese out of him, but certainly roughed him up a little bit here. So maybe you have to thank the Big Cheese for if you have the opportunity to make sure the Necessary Evil doesn't necessarily take away the Big Daddy Memorial Battle Royal victory.
I watched the match. It was fantastic.
Very intensive, by the way. Intensive match.
Oh, definitely. And you've got to think now. Palmer is going to be licking his wounds. He's going to be wounded, and now he's going to be out to dish out more punishment. You see, you can't think like that. They've weakened him up, because I've dealt with losses, and the Big Cheese will back me up here. Any wrestler will back me up. When you take a loss, you take that personal to yourself, and then you rebuild. You think, right, how can I be bigger? How can I be better? See, Palmer is going to be angry now. He's going to be focused. I'm not going to doubt on Palmer one bit.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? I wouldn't doubt him either. And I know he's here tonight tuned in. He had a lot to say about Remus Kane, and I'll get back to those comments, but we're here with you. And I have a couple of people that have tuned in here, and I want to get to somebody else, not Slugger Hampton just yet. I want to get to somebody else that was announced not too long ago. And the Lawman, Kyle Kennedy. Obviously, we spoke with the Lawman last week on the air, right before I had this whole Facebook situation here. But the Lawman says I should be winning that battle royal tomorrow. However, if not me, I'd rather it be you. And I mean, obviously, you and him have struck kind of a close bond through these different shows. I know you and him have obviously spoken. And I mean, you feel that there's a bond with you and the Lawman, and maybe his spirit is with you, because he would have been obviously one of the guys that you would have been right in the ring with there, and probably would have given you a run for your money, let's say.
Oh, I think that Lord will definitely be able to make money. I've got a lot of time for Kyle. We've had conversations recently as well, and obviously, man, I hope you get well, ASAP, man. And it sucks you not to be in that ring. Yeah, I've got a lot of time for Kyle. He kind of reached out to me, and it just showed me respect. That goes a long way with me. The way I've always seen it, and it might not be the most popular option, is I give respect. The people that I've met before, the people when I'm going to shows, you've got to treat them with respect, or else it's going to be a really, really uncomfortable journey in pro wrestling.
That very well could be the case. And also give a follow to BMD on Instagram at big_Mark_Dafter. I want everybody to follow the Lawman Kyle Kennedy at Mr. Justice Kyle Kennedy on Instagram, the Lawman K Kennedy on Twitter. Also like his page on Facebook, and we still are out there on Facebook, so we certainly want to say hello to the Lawman. Also here, Get Some Lights On, lad. I'm not sure what that reference is here on the Get
I
Some
think
Lights On.
he's telling me to turn my lights on.
Oh, okay. Okay, that certainly could help. Yeah, you might want to do that. While you do that, Mr. Big Cheese, and also want to give everybody a follow for the Big Cheese, do that Big Cheese Logan on Instagram. Also, you can follow him on YouTube at Mad Manx. And I actually have something that the Big Cheese sent to me that we're going to have to do a stream very soon on, because otherwise I'm never going to eat it. And I want to actually try it on the air. I might as well do that because it might actually help me get some new YouTube subscribers. But enough about that. There's somebody else that entered the Battle Royal, and I want to get your perspective on it. Certainly a younger participant, a different participant, and Shiro. What's your impressions on a Shiro, who's kind of the person that I would say that I'm referencing in somebody you may not know as well? So what's your impressions on a Shiro from what we'll see tomorrow night from you in this Big Daddy Battle Royal, and any thoughts on him?
Shiro is not someone I've heard much about.
Right.
You know, he's someone that is coming into a new territory, I guess, with a lot of new people in the ring. He's in the ring with. Once again, it's someone you can't predict. It's one person you need to do your research on before you get in a ring with him. I know it's dangerous. It's. But the question is, who's more dangerous?
Well, we're going to have to find out. I mean, I'll certainly maybe even ask that to our guest coming up here, the man that's kind of in charge right now of Firestar Championship Wrestling, and Mr. Stuart Tunney. And I mean, what's your impressions of him? We're going to have Stuart on here in a little while, maybe about 20, 25 minutes. And obviously, he's going to have a big responsibility in keeping not only everybody in order in this match, but certainly throughout the rest of the show. And I mean, what's your impressions on the new general manager here?
You know what? It's to manage a bunch of rowdy wrestlers. I say, God bless the guy. Fair play for going into it. This is going to be his the first five-star show under his management. I'm quite curious to see how it goes, and I hope it goes fantastic for him. And it'll be nice to finally meet him. We've had conversations and stuff, but it'll be nice to meet him in the flesh.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're all going to be excited to hear what Stuart has to say live in the flesh and wound, literally in a little while from now. So I'm excited about this because I have no idea what to expect, because he's the guy that's in charge of things, and I have no idea. And speaking about somebody else that'll debut, Jason Jacobs. I mean, Jason Jacobs is a guy that looks as big, and it looks like he's mean. And I mean, what do you expect from a Jason Jacobs here?
Big dude. See, I think the scary thing.
We're all big. Seriously. I mean, tell us something else. See, we're all big here in this match, BMD.
I know this is the problem. It's someone I know who is well travelled. It's someone I know who's, I'm pretty sure, wrestled not far from where I live recently, down at LDN, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is someone who is going to be very experienced in the ring.
Yes.
Someone who might put a lot of us to shame. We don't know. But it doesn't matter when there's 9 other people trying to do the same thing to eliminate you. I want to see, how we all handle that pressure.
There is certainly going to be a lot of pressure, no doubt about it. But I have to ask you about this person. This person very well in another life, in another promotion that you certainly have dabbled with a little bit. And he shook things up here, I think, dramatically when it comes to this Battle Royal, and that is Slugger Hampton. Slugger Hampton is a man we know very well, the working class militia. He has been a champion in different promotions. He has been a guy that a lot of people are going to certainly paying close attention to tomorrow night there at the Ripenden Social Club. So you, of all people, have the most history with Slugger Hampton. You have to talk about how this impacts you because more than anyone else, I could see Slugger coming for you, the Northern Enforcer, BMD.
Oh.
I was in this chair with you last year, and Mr. Slugger was talking about you quite a bit. So this feels like deja vu all over again.
It's mental, you know. Me and Slugger have been through a lot together. We've been enemies. We've had it out in the ring. We've somehow ended up being really good friends at one point, to the point that I call him my brother, and I still do. So now we both find each other again at this new promotion, and of course we end up in a match again. And I know how dangerous Slugger is. I know how fast he is. I know how strong he is. But there's one thing that he needs to know. It's been about a year since we met in the ring.
Yep.
A lot's changed. I've learned a lot of things. I've lost a lot of things. I think, Slugger, if you do try to go for us tomorrow, with respect, you won't know what hits you.
You know, after what Slugger has said here of late, and after what Slugger I've seen do in a couple of other promotions, his match in GT Ministries there against Maverick Matt Williams, Gung Ho Muttley, is something about Slugger. And I've had Slugger on a lot. I've seen him through his career. He's just something different about him. So you've made some interesting comments toward him. But let me come back to Palmer, because Palmer had a couple of comments on Facebook I'd like to read off here. And he says here, first of all, everyone in the battle world will experience a true vulgar display of Palmer. And I will show that sometimes evil is necessary. And I want to shout out Palmer Necessary Evil, because you can follow him on Facebook. Please like his page on Facebook. You can also check him out on Instagram. Please make sure you follow him on Instagram. You can do that at Palmer_Necessary_Evil. Also follow him from his work at Championship Wrestling Entertainment, CWE. Also official_CWE_UK. Please go out there and make sure you follow him. And he's got a couple of comments here. And this comes back toward you, and also in a way toward the man I mentioned at the beginning, and that was Big Duncan himself. I've got a score to settle with Duncan from our meeting at the NBPW last show here this past Monday. Under no illusions, though, BMD, I haven't forgotten about you. So, obviously, Palmer said a couple of different things in a short blurb, but how do you feel toward those things?
He knows where I'll be, and I'll be in that ring. I won't shy away from you, Palmer. I won't shy away from anyone in that ring. A lot of people already know that. Slugger Hampton, I stood up to him. Even gained his respect at one point. Palmer, stood up to you. I stood up to you in the Rumble. Yeah, you knocked me out. Still stood up to you. If this is your way of trying to intimidate me, it's not working. You see, I've had people try to intimidate me, and it doesn't work, because every time I fall down, I get back up. It doesn't matter how hard I fall, I always spring back up. You see, this isn't just the typical underdog story anymore. This isn't the we feel sorry for BMD. BMD, you know, he can't catch a break. No, that's not the case anymore. See, this BMD, this isn't an underdog story. This is a monster story. You see, I'm coming in because I've got nothing to lose. I just want to come and do what I love, and that's wrestle.
Well, you may certainly do that. And this individual here says, Big Duncan for the win. Sorry, kid. Now, this sounds like, if I'm okay to say this, maybe somebody related to Big Duncan. And I'd like everybody to subscribe to this individual's page. And what do you say to that, if this is the case, certainly from a message being relayed toward you, BMD?
Well, first of all, kid, I'm 30 years old.
Well, you
Babyface.
do have a kid's face, by the way. I have to say, you
I've
certainly
it's just
you've
young.
aged, you've aged amazingly. I have to say, you're almost like the Michael J. Fox of faces there.
Amazing. One little saying, and you can tell this to your friend Big Duncan. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. It's one of the first things I heard in pro wrestling.
Oof. Well, I'll tell you what. That's certainly going to be a test of words. We'll have to find out very well could be true or not true tomorrow night. You'll only have to find out there as tickets are still available. There's a few left out there. Adults only £8. I mean, what a deal, ladies and gentlemen. You can buy a ticket here, even for a family, for £20 only. I mean, I went last week to see Fast X, and I probably would have spent 20 plus pounds here easily on that. And if I added the popcorn and the soda, I would have spent close to 40 pounds, right? But here, you can go and watch this show and watch this historic Big Daddy Battle Royal. You can also watch the Openweight Championship. You can watch Martin Kirby. You can watch the Firestar Championship match. You can watch the ladies wrestle. You can watch so many different things here. You can see the triple threat. All for taking out your family for 20 pounds? I mean, what? You ain't going to get that deal. You are not going to get that deal anywhere else. This is why you have to go to Firestar Championship Wrestling on Facebook. Go on Instagram. Go and support this company. I want to thank the company for giving us this opportunity to speak with our dear friend, the Northern Enforcer, BMD himself. And I kind of feel in a lot of ways the Battle Royal has also been maybe shaken up, going to the fact of the pressure is that Hammerhead Smith Sr. is actually going to be in attendance. And you know Hammerhead very well. You've obviously worked with him in another company. I've had Hammer on a couple of different times, and Hammerhead Smith has certainly talked about his history from his father. And I mean, does that add further to this, and knowing that somebody that as legendary as Hammerhead Smith Sr. is going to watch this, that it's going to basically, you're going to have that eye on you? I mean, talk about that.
Of course it does. Whenever you find out someone with the wrestling history of Hammerhead Sr., of course it's going to make you nervous. Of course you're gonna want to do your best. You're going to want to sort of. This is the problem, yes, and there is a lot of pressure. But if you're not feeling pressure in this type of sport, then you need to hang your boots up and get out the ring. You see, you need that bit of nerves. You need that bit of excitement. It all mixes up into this big energy for me. And I'm sure a lot of wrestlers who you've had will speak for me on this as well.
Sure.
There is an energy. Once you come out that curtain, all your nerves have to go. You've got to put on that. You've got to be the person you are. I've got to stop. Before I'm in the curtain, I'm just my regular self. When I come out, I've got to be the best version of myself, ready to fight, ready to give it my all. And if that's not the attitude you've got,
you're in the wrong line of work. Listen, if you don't feel those things, it's like anything else. You shouldn't be here. You should not be a professional wrestler. I actually completely agree with you on that. But this individual here has to say further, smaller they are, the easier to throw out. Punishment is coming. Well, you guys are all big, though. Well, yeah, I mean, in a way, you guys are all big. That's why they call this the Big Daddy Battle Royal here. I mean, that's kind of, so I think that's kind of the Captain Obvious here. Anything else you want to add toward that?
this is it. There is a lot of big dudes in that match. And, the crazy thing, we're all going to be in the ring at the same time. I just hope the ring's reinforced.
Well, listen, let's not say anything that may or may not happen. Yeah, I mean, you guys are all going to be strong. I have no doubt that that'll be the case here. So, or certainly here in about 10 or so minutes from now, we'll hear from our general manager here, Stuart Tunney, not to be confused with Jack Tunney, although I might have to ask him if he's related to the legendary Jack Tunney here. But, I mean, Okay, now I have actually another comment here. 7 foot, 420-pound Big Duncan is a monster. Do you want to say anything to that?
I mean, he's not wrong. He's Big Duncan, 420 pounds, 7 foot.
So is he telling you that if there's the chance that you and him cross in that battle royal, should you just eliminate yourself? Is that what he's trying to tell you?
If that is the case, respectfully, sir, I'll say no to that. Respectfully, you want to fight? I'll give you a fight. It doesn't matter who's in that ring. It doesn't matter if you're 7 foot tall. It doesn't matter. If you want me over them ropes, you will have me kicking and screaming.
Well, that's going to be a rather loud scream, to say the least here. The Necessary Evil Palmer has some comments, so let me get to the Necessary Evil before we move on here. He said, it still amazes me that in all our years, that this will only be the second time that me and Slugger have faced off against each other. That's a good point. He will certainly add a different dynamic to the Battle Royal. That's for sure, but I would add that Slugger was very impressive last year in the GT Ministries Rumble. And in fact, he was the last person to be eliminated. And that was Gareth Angel who eliminated him. And I would say that last year was the summer of Slugger. This year could be the unofficial kickoff to the summer of Slugger 2. I mean, forget about blockbuster season. We just had Fast X, Guardians of the Galaxy a few weeks prior. We've got Spider-Man this weekend, Indiana Jones in 2 weeks. I mean, you've got all the summer blockbusters. But there's a possibility here. The sequel to last year's big blockbuster of the Summer of Slugger could very well happen here tomorrow night. Not only at your expense, BMD, but Big Duncan's expense, Shiro's expense, Jason Jacobs' expense. I mean, almost everybody that's going to be in this battle royal here. But the Necessary Evil Palmer has some more comments. I'm trying to show you the right way. You were someone I saw as a protege. I don't need to intimidate you. I need to bring you back to the way of old. So I don't know if that's referring toward you. Maybe it's referring toward you, or maybe it's to Big Duncan. But what do you say to that? Go ahead, jump in, BMD.
Because last time we spoke, Palmer said he does this for the money.
Yes, he did. He did. Yep.
That's not why I'm here. And it's never going to be the reason. I'm not here to go and make it big. I'm here to just enjoy it. I'm here to have fun. Because the moment that wrestling stops becoming fun is the time that I'm done. I'm here to have fun. I'm here. It's something that 7-year-old BMD would be screaming about if he knew this was going to happen. You know?
Mm.
Look, it's... When I first met Palmer, this wasn't his attitude. You know? It wasn't. And, like, I almost appreciate why you're trying to do it. I get it. But your mindset is so wrong. And if I have to beat that mindset out of you tomorrow, then so be it.
Well, I'll tell you what. Palmer is certainly a man that always has something to say. I have no doubt that we'll certainly bring him back with the aftermath that'll happen from this and the rest of the show here. And I do have some more comments. Heard Palmer lasted 3 seconds in a rumble against Big Duncan, to quote a legend. Easy, easy, easy. So, all right, well, we'll have to see. I mean, I certainly have no doubts about that here. So I want to ask you, though, the obvious question, which I should have asked you earlier, but I kind of wanted to save it because people kind of wanted to talk to you. And what would it mean to you, BMD, to win the 10-man over-the-top elimination Big Daddy Memorial Battle Royal? What would that mean to you and for your career?
You know, this is the first Battle Royal for this glorious trophy, for that glorious man. This is the first time, this is the first time in a new place. It's a lot. There's a lot of firsts happening tomorrow. For some, it could be first new promotion. This is starting to my legacy. I get the chance to wrestle for someone who put British wrestling, on the map. There is no higher honor than this for me. I am walking in 24 hours time, and I know I sound like a broken record, to the biggest match of my career. If I won that, I words can't even describe the emotions. Just thinking about it now, even just the fact of participating is one of the biggest honors. It's words can't describe how amazing it is. Because as much as maybe all of these wrestlers don't get on, it's a pleasure to be in the ring with such talented individuals. And tomorrow night we steal the show. And we make him proud.
Steal the show? You literally might break the show. I mean, because your words pretty much, you might actually just do that here. So got a couple more comments here. Leo McLean, of course, our open weight champ. I know you're going to be watching that match very close. So that's going to be another barn burner. Just what an amazing show here from our friends over at Firestar Championship Wrestling. Wrestling is fun. It is a abundance of havoc. The money is a bonus. Well, certainly, I'll ask the general manager his thoughts on the money. Jokes aside, all 10 men are winners to represent in this Rumble. Yeah, I think that's a fair point, because think about the history, right? You're in this Big Daddy Memorial Battle Royal that's honoring Big Daddy, that's honoring the legends like Hammerhead Smith Sr., Marty Jones, Giant Haystack. Think about all those legends, right, in UK history. You're actually going out there and having the opportunity to kind of represent them. And I think it's a really cool feat. Another reason why we love Firestar Championship Wrestling. So again, just another reason why this company is absolutely ready to certainly talk about the future and everything else. We'll do that with the general manager. And I do want to ask you a couple of more questions. Again, in a few minutes, we were very excited to hear from the debut of our general manager here, Mr. Stuart Tunney himself. And I do have, I think, one more comment here. I think I have one more comment. Oh, I guess Palmer removed a comment for himself. So he posted a comment that I guess he removed. So that's a fair point. He also talked about Remus Kane. He wants Remus Kane, but I think he's going to have to worry about Big Duncan first. So I'll certainly let Mr. Palmer deal with the Battle Royal itself first. So I want to ask you before I get to closing thoughts, because I also know you have to actually get ready to get up for this show here soon and finish what you have to do. So what do you want to say? Twofold. What do you want to say to anybody who's going to buy a ticket tomorrow night and watch you, and to the other 9 participants in this match tomorrow night? What do you want to say to both of those groups?
But first and foremost, to the fans that are coming down, to the fans, thank you so much. This is you even just buying a ticket and going into your chair. That is helping me live my dream. Whether I make money or not, I don't care. Thank you. To the people that scream my name tomorrow night, thank you. It doesn't go unnoticed. To the 9 other competitors in there tomorrow night, Duncan Hurst said it right. All of us are winners to represent this Rumble. But only one walks out. Who's got the bottle? Who's got the guts? Who's got the heart? And who's got the drive to be the last person in that ring? You see, I've made sure I stay calm, but now it's for the real talk before we go. Who has got the drive to hold that trophy in that man's name? So all I say to that is easy, easy, easy. We'll see who the winner is tomorrow.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think this was the BMD that the necessary evil Palmer was trying to get out of. It finally happened here. It took him a little while. It took him a little bit to warm up, but I think we've got a sense of what BMD is going to do tomorrow night at the Ripponton Social Club here. And I have a feeling if I'm those 9 other participants, even as big as the 7 foot, 420-pound monster Big Duncan is, BMD is going to be chanting that easy, easy. And he's going to show us why he is the Northern Enforcer and why you need to follow him on Instagram, big_Mark_Dafter, the Northern Enforcer on Facebook, and our friends over at Firestar Championship Wrestling as well. But I want to give you now the opportunity for closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, say, and certainly no drinks here after we get off the air. Maybe, as you said, maybe something that's on the light side. And looking forward to seeing what you do in the ring. And hopefully we can get you in one piece the next time you come on after this Battle Royal tomorrow night.
Well, once that I finish this interview, I'm going to be heading up north. I'm going to be getting a good night's rest. And tomorrow, I will be 100% ready for this match. I have made sure nothing gets in my way, because if I'm unlucky enough to get eliminated tomorrow, there'll be no excuses. There'll be no reasons to why I should still be in the match. You know what? Whoever eliminates me, if they do, good effort. But I'm having no excuses tomorrow. I go through 9 other men. I might succeed, I might not, but I'm going in there with everything I've got. I'm ready.
Well, as Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones famously sang in a song, God gave me everything I got. And BMD tomorrow is going to have to be able to say, God gave me everything I got in order to come out of this here and win the historic Big Daddy Battle Royale Memorial, the 10-man over-the-top elimination. We will see if BMD is going to make history. I don't know if it's going to be that easy, but we're going to find out here. My friend, get some rest. Looking forward to speaking with you here in the future. Hopefully you come out in one piece and live to tell about it, and maybe walk away with a Big Daddy Battle Royal Memorial Championship in place. Well, we're going to find out, my friend. Your career could change drastically after tomorrow night. Just like Remus. Remus could be Remus 2 belts, and Remus could be in more promotions. He talked about even going to America. I mean, listen, Remus Kane could win the open weight championship tomorrow and all of a sudden decide he's taking it to Orlando. Who knows? Orlando's where NXT is. I have no idea. You, my friend, could win the Big Daddy Memorial Battle Royal and all of a sudden decide you're taking that Battle Royal to go who knows where else. So anything can happen. Could it be international? Could it be southern places? Who knows what else? But I'm looking forward to watching you in the ring one more time. The Northern Enforcer on Facebook, big_Mark_Dafter on Instagram, and get some shut-eye, and we'll talk soon, my man.
Take care, guys.
All right, and that was BMD, the Northern Enforcer himself, and the man who's got arguably tomorrow night the toughest job, I would say, maybe in all of professional wrestling. He is making his debut to Sportzwire, and it's going to be one I think we're all going to remember here for the ages, and he needs no further introduction, but because it's his first time, he's getting one anyway. He's got, like I said, the toughest job. I mean, forget about, Theodore Long had on SmackDown. Forget about Commissioner Sergeant Slaughter, Shawn Michaels on NXT, and he's in charge there. Tony Khan, AEW. This man, with what we've heard tonight and what else we're going to see tomorrow night in the ring for our friends over at Firestar Championship Wrestling, especially at the Ripponton Social Club, I do not envy this man at all. He is our general manager. His name is Stuart Tunney. I am going to give him the introduction that everyone else gets and that loves here on Sportswire. So with wait for it. Further ado here on the Sports Report. Number one global sports show, the general manager of Firestar Championship Wrestling, Stuart Tunney. How you doing there, my friend?
Thank you very much for the amazing intro. That was wicked.
Well, my first thoughts are you by any chance related to, speaking of those in power, and I said this a little while ago with BMD, are you related to former WWF President Jack Tunney by any chance? Because you look a little bit like him in the eyes. Are you by any chance related?
Yeah. I don't know. I've not checked the family tree, so I can't be too sure on that one. But it is something I'm looking into.
Okay, well, certainly you could have said yes, but obviously we'll see here. But, there's a lot to get into. Obviously, you heard what Remus Kane has had to say. BMD has said a lot, and some of the other participants. So I have to ask you, how are you going to keep this show up and running where we can get this show running smoothly and soundly? Because there is a lot of matches, a lot of participants, and a lot of people who want to kill each other. So how are you going to make sure this show runs smooth and all in one piece?
I think the main thing what you've got to do is make sure everyone keeps their ego in check, right? And as a manager, be firm but fair. That's the only thing you can do is be firm but fair.
Okay,
and hopefully get these people, earn these people's respect and let them understand that I'm not taking any messing around, but at the same time, I'm also here to help you.
Okay, so speaking of that, I do have some comments out there on social media, and I know some people are commenting on Facebook. Most are on YouTube. I appreciate whatever audience is out there. But, I mean, have you gotten a chance to integrate yourself with the locker room or anybody in the locker room? And what's that rapport been like before I ask you on some of the matches?
Yeah. I've been speaking to quite a few of the talent behind the scenes and stuff, and there's some really cool guys we've got out there. I'm really looking forward to meeting them properly, introducing myself properly, and letting them know how I want things to go and what I expect of them and what they can expect from me.
All right, fair play here. Certainly, I'll get to some of that in a second. Leo McLean, our open weight champion. I probably should ask you a thought on the champion in a second. Hello, boss. It'll be fun to show you what myself and my Oracle Bella are capable of. I hope you can respect the havoc we do upon our opponents. We'll see you tomorrow. So, I mean, what's your impressions on the open weight champion, Leo McLean? Leo has obviously been here with us a couple of times. You've kind of heard the back and forth with him and Mr. Kane. Remus Kane's a man I know very, very well from multiple companies, but there's also some other opponents there that I've also had the opportunity to be acquainted with. But most importantly, give me your impressions on the champion, Leo McLean, and what do you think of him so far in the company?
Dark, brooding, and mysterious.
Yes.
Three of my favorite things.
Okay.
And mentioning the Oracle Bella, that's bringing me onto a match which I can't wait for. We're putting a massive focus on women's wrestling being a really big piece of the card, and I can't wait to see that gauntlet match tomorrow. Kirsty Love's got a lot on her hands.
Oh, no question.
Really, really has.
No question about that. I mean, speaking of the champion, what's your impressions then on the women's champion? Obviously, we've seen some shakeups here in some of the women's stuff here, and I'll get to that in a second. But then talk to me about your impressions on Christy Love.
I don't really think it's on Christy Love in particular. I think it's just the division as a whole.
Sure.
There's so much amazing talent that we've got in the ranks at FCW, and with this only being our second or first event, the girls are going to put on a cracking show, and I can't wait for a crowd to be blessed with proper women's wrestling and a good focus on what the girls can do. I think it's very, very important and vital for the progress of any company. We have to be putting a focus on these things. It's massively important.
I'm glad you said that, because I speak with a lot of different companies out there, whether they're in the UK, whether they're even here in America. And I do feel that what the women do in the ring, and I know I've said this on prior Sportswire shows, I've been doing this for 4.5 years, and I feel that a lot of cases the women can do it better than the men. Listen, stuff I've seen out there. Charlotte and Rhea Ripley, for an example. I could talk about, Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch. There's a number of women, even locally here in the UK, and you have somebody else that has done a phenomenal job, I think, in representing the UK scene that we're going to see coming up here, Leonie Rose. Leonie Rose is a phenomenal performer, and I've seen her quite a bit in places like GT Ministries. I've seen her in NSAR, and I mean, she's, I think, an example of women's wrestling and where it's going. I mean, talk to me about the addition of her, and I think kind of some of the things you've spoke about in the women's scene.
I think the thing is like British wrestling in general, the scene is becoming, huge again. It really, really is.
Absolutely, I agree with you 1,000%.
And I think to single out any female wrestler in particular right now would be a bit unfair, because I'm still, learning about our locker room and stuff, and finding out, where the true talent lies within our ranks. But with people like Viper, who was massive on the British scene, to go
Sure.
across to WWE, people like Lana Austin, these are all people that
I know Lana Austin very, very well. I mean, she's had a massive following. I've seen her in other companies. We've covered the LWF as an example, Odyssey Pro Wrestling.
Yep.
So, to have her.
The first time I saw Lana Austin was at Future Shock Championship Wrestling in Stockport over here.
Okay.
And she was champ at the time, I think. And she was just phenomenal. And we've got such a strong contingent of women within the British scene. And I think it's just going to go from strength to strength, and it's going to be interesting to watch this division develop properly, and it's something I'm really focused on.
No question about that, and that's why I want everybody to follow Firestar Championship Wrestling. If you're out there on Facebook, Instagram at Firestar Championship Wrestling, just a few tickets left out there tomorrow, just at £8. I mean, again, I was saying this with BMD.
You can still grab them tickets, man.
Listen, I was telling BMD, I saw Fast X, and I spent probably 40 plus pounds between the popcorn, the soda, the ticket for the IMAX. You could go and watch this show with the who's who of participants in there and so many matches for just 20 pounds taking a family. You're not going to get any deal like that these days. And another reason why I'm excited about this card is Martin Kirby. Now, Martin Kirby, I feel like he is with the equivalent of Johnny Cash is everywhere, man. I saw him Monday at NBPW. I saw him at Ensor wrestle Supersonic Sammy Blue there. I mean, I've lost count on how many companies Martin Kirby is a part of, and he's going to be in the ring here. And talk to me about Martin Kirby against Steve Valentino, because there's something I think you have in the background that's going to be maybe possibly related to that. And for those that are listening and watching, let's talk about it.
So, the way I got involved with Firestar Championship Wrestling to start with was Rob approached me for sponsorship and stuff like that, and I was like, well, look, I can do something a bit different in the way of sponsorship. I've got these amazing championship belts which I had made for my shop, and I always said that once a promotion came around, I would love to donate one as a sponsored title, and he was only too happy to take it. So that it's not going to be in black, it's going to be in white.
Wow.
15
I'm impressed, by the way.
Gold, platinum, and diamonds. It's a beautiful, beautiful belt.
It's amazing. By the way, I'm like, we have championship belts all the time on Sportswire, but that belt, and I'm not just saying it because you're on here and you're the guy in charge, but that belt is like, my goodness, it's like a mix of NXT, it's a mix of like Sons of Anarchy, and it's a mix of your twist on it and stuff,
Yeah, so the match between Martin Kirby and Steve Valentino, basically the winner of that goes on to our August event. Pop that back there. And goes on to our August event against a competitor of my choosing.
Ooh.
Now, obviously, I'm sure everybody's been watching the socials and stuff, and I'm making it clear that this isn't just going to be handed to someone. Someone's got to go out and earn this. They really do need to earn this, because this is a title that represents my company as a sponsor.
I was going to get to that in a second, actually. Thank you for doing that, actually, for stealing my questions.
I like, with my job and my company and what I do, I deliver nothing but excellence, because I think it's very, very important. You have to give your whole self to something, and that's what this title represents: hard work, excellence, and really going out and grabbing at something.
And I think that's kind of what the company, I think, has achieved here, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I've been so eager and enthusiastic to cover Firestar these past couple of months when we have those opportunities, is because I see a lot of those things in the company, in the talent. You speak about a Leo McLean. He, I think, identifies with a lot of that. BMD certainly has a unique story.
BMD's brilliant. Like
I know
I just,
BMD for a while. I mean, he's a guy I've
I'm
had on
supposed
many
to like,
times.
I'm supposed to remain neutral and not have an opinion, but I really wish BMD look at the weekend.
You've got some
He's
talents I know very well in this
telling
company.
me.
Slugger Hampton, I've had on 1,000 times. The unforgettable Andre Decker. You have
The
tomorrow night.
infamous Slugger Hampton.
Yes,
Jesus.
Mr. Slugger. You have Andre Decker. So I know Mr. Decker very well, by the way. He was somebody that I would obviously love to get a thought or two on. Obviously, he's somebody in the company. Rob Bagwell is our champion. Hammerhead
Rob
Smith
Bagwell,
Jr.
legend.
No, Hammerhead Smith very well. Tom
Yeah,
LaRufa.
man.
I mean, Tom LaRufa, here's a guy that has wrestled in the big time. He's wrestled in
Yeah,
the big leagues, right?
everywhere.
So what's that do for a company to have somebody like him? And even for you, somebody now just taking over the reins here. And what does that say for a young company to have a name like a Tom LaRufa that even, idiots like me that are in America, in New York, right, that know Tom LaRufa. I've seen him on Impact. I've seen him on NXT. What does that do for a company like you in having a Tom LaRufa here wrestle, especially for the company's biggest prize?
It gives it prestige. It gives our audience comfort in the fact that they know that the big stars want to come and wrestle for us.
Sure.
As great as the British scene is, and it is, we also want to bring in people from overseas as well that are extraordinary talents to back up our already extraordinary lineup that we've got already. Because we're dripping in talent over here. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So a Tom LaRufa just backs that up.
Oh, absolutely, no question. And I think having against somebody like this, it gives the company that natural credibility that
Exactly.
it's going to be here for the long run. And I think that that's why the roster diverse, but also has the talent that I think is going to keep here. And BMD says evening boss. So certainly he's trying to get brownie points, but sponsors are important. And especially for a company like this, and obviously I think it's important to touch upon those and how important they are, because one of the things I always say, and people ask me all the time, which will translate to you guys here, Mr. General Manager, is how have you been able to do Sportswire and have people want to tune in for as long as you have had? And I say, well, the reason that is community. The community, when I was starting it out, supported in me. People locally and believed in me. They believed in my message. They liked what I had to say. Friends, family, different people I reached out to. And I think that's going to be the reason why Firestar Championship Wrestling is going to be here for the long haul, is because we have a lot of great sponsors. Talk
Yes.
about those and how they're going to continue to keep this company as a place that I think we're going to be talking about for years to come for.
Well, the good thing about all the sponsors we've got so far is that they are local companies, just like myself with my barbershops. They're local companies that like the idea of having a regular wrestling event in the area, because Ripon itself is a very small village. It's not huge, but at the minute there's not much that goes on. Like the Ripon Club where we're having the event, it's fantastic. That's probably the central hub to the whole village. Like, it's that small of a village. We have things called the parish council, which is not something. I'm from Manchester, and we don't have things like that.
Okay.
So, like, that's how small it is. That's how much of a small knit community it is. So, to bring something like this to the Ripon Club and have it there on a regular basis is going to be absolutely amazing. And it's not just stopping at shows either. There is other plans, which I can't really talk about just now.
I always tell people this is the first time you're on. If there's something that you can't say, don't incriminate yourself. I always go back to
I can't.
I always go back.
I mean, yeah. I've not spoken to Rob, so I don't know whether I'm allowed to actually mention that.
Okay,
but there is some plans in place once this all settles to move the company forward in other ways.
Sure. And I always tell people, I always go back to my background when I took law class in college, university. For those in the UK, I took law and evidence. I took criminal justice. I have a small legal background because I hold a title called a notary public. And I always say, don't incriminate yourself. Whatever you do,
Yeah, no
if there's
point.
something, just don't ever do that. So obviously, talk about some
I
of
don't
those
want to be getting sacked from my position before the first show, you know.
Absolutely. But talk about some of those different sponsors that we have. I'd like to, give them a spotlight and talk about what they're going to do here and what we can see and why they're so valuable to the Ripenden community.
So for us as a business, they're really valuable to us because we're not asking for financial backing. We're asking just for social media presence. So all we're asking them to do is share a couple of posts for us to get the message about the company spread around. Now, some of the businesses that are involved in this, there's a gym called Movement, which is run by a friend of mine. Yeah, that is one of the best gyms you will ever go to. This is the most friendly gym you will ever walk into. This gym, it doesn't have a mirror anywhere. There's no mirrors anywhere. Obviously the wrestling business is full of really, really big dudes who put in serious pumps, but that's not what this gym is for. This gym, it's a very relaxed atmosphere. It's very friendly towards women. It's very welcoming to anybody that walks through the door. It's not an overly gym kind of gym. It's not intimidating.
Okay.
Then there's a company called Elegant Paws, which is just across the road from my place, who cuts dogs' hair. That's who cuts my dog's hair. And they're brilliant.
Okay. Well, that's a good reason why.
Yeah. Like my dog Thor, he is a Malshai, so he's half Maltese and half Shih Tzu. So he's genuinely about this big. He's tiny. But they even put like a little mohawk in his hair for me and give him a big granddad tash. He looks dead cool. So they're really good at doing alternate stuff as well. But they're just a fantastic company. All the companies that I'm trying to get involved are very community-based companies as well, because I think that's important.
Absolutely. Listen, and that goes back to, again, people ask me, I'm doing this for, 4.5 years. And when I started, I was doing this on a Skype call, which people will look at. You were doing, streaming on Skype. I'm like, but in those days, you didn't have StreamYard. You didn't have those, things. And I had a big sound mixer and this big board, but it's a different world, a different time, like anything else. I think that's why I'm so excited about what the future of Firestar Championship Wrestling has to offer. Also, we have Beetlejuice, goth, and alternative clothing. That sounds like, for those that might be more mainstream, almost like Hot Topic.
Yeah. They are in a place called the Peace Hall in Halifax Town Centre.
Okay.
And they're where your more alternate people would go picking up some really nice clothes.
So I might have a chance to fit in there because obviously I've got these mutton chops, the long hair. I'm not a goth guy, but I'm a little bit of a metal guy, and I do like different things. So I think I could fit in there. And we also have Rockabilly Vintage Boutiques from our friends over at Jitterbug Jean. That sounds something like Rockabilly. That's almost reminds me of for music fans. There was a guy Brian Seitzer and his orchestra. They had and then it was Zuzu Daddy. So that reminds me of the Rockabilly vibe. Talk about that. That's a cool one as well.
Yeah, I think that's a clothing line, Rockabilly, if I'm not wrong.
Yep.
I might be wrong on that. I don't know, but I'm sure it's a clothing line. Again, okay. I think it's important to have sponsors that are over a very wide variety of businesses. Absolutely. Because the more eyes, what we learned from WWE and the Mike Tyson kind of era was that the more eyes you can get to a product, the more chance you've got of hooking people on the end of a hook and dragging them in.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's sort of the approach that I've took in Sportzwire because I cover obviously a lot of wrestling, but I've also done different things, whether it's university athletics. I had a background in news at one time. So, I mean, you have to do different things in order to catch or potentially catch different people. And you can catch people at Firestar Championship Wrestling on Instagram, Facebook. I cannot stress this enough to support this great company. We have here the general manager, Stuart Tunney. He is here just literally, I would say not even 24 hours before match time at the Ripenden Social Club. Very, very
excited.
Oh,
So excited.
I'm fired up here. I'm almost with half a voice right now. Just excited about this card. We've got so many great matches. We spoke about the openweight championship to begin with the show here with our friend Remus Kane, who has the opportunity to be a 2-belt holder here. Remus 2 belts could be the possibility, and we also
It
had
could be
here
a massive
BMD.
possibility.
I tell you what, I know Remus Kane very well. I'm telling you, you better keep an eye on this guy. I know him very, very well.
Listen, I've been watching Remus Kane for the past while now, and
Yep.
that guy's a talent, man. That guy
I've
is a
seen
talent.
him in about 4 different companies, and not only can he talk your socks off, he can also do a thing or two in the ring. Remus is definitely a guy that is going to do some things. We also have Martin Kirby. We also have the triple threat match. We also have here, I want to come back to the Big Daddy Memorial Battle Royal and the history here. And, you think about British professional wrestling, UK wrestling.
It's
You
one of
think
the
about
first things I remember in my life ever is British professional like
absolutely,
I
and
was
talk
born in
about that.
1980, so like when I was, it's a bit like a Stone Cold Steve Austin story. This I remember being sat in front of my TV, and the wrestling came on the TV, and the wrestling came on the TV, and it was Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks, Kendo Nagasaki, young David, who went on to become the British Bulldog. Like,
Sure.
we'd go to my granddad's on a Saturday afternoon, which was a couple of miles from where we lived. And by the time we got there, wrestling would be on, and we would watch that, and we would all watch it as a family. So, world of sport and British wrestling in general has always had a soft spot in my heart. So, to get involved at such a late stage of life for me is like quite a blessing.
No, it's not. Listen, it's late would be like if you were 90. This is not not a late stage of life. I mean, there are plenty of people.
Well, I'm 42 years old and just starting out in the business. It's
Hey,
late
listen,
on.
DDP wrestled his first real match at
38.
39. I had the big cheese Logan, who was a fighter first in the military. 36 was his first match. There's plenty of guys, Rick Marcus, the Cumbrian Outlaw, Andre Decker knows him very well. I mean, he didn't start until I believe he was like 30, I want to say, in the ring or something around that range. So it's not over. There's plenty of time out there. Ric Flair, I don't know why, wrestled the match last year, which was supposed to be his retirement match at 73. So,
I can't talk about that match. I'm sorry.
I just can't. So that age is still an age that is a prime. But, you talk about those names and the history. And, obviously the British Bulldog, for me, growing up, he was like the greatest to me. Growing up, he was one of my all-time favorites because he was like the guy.
Number one wrestler. He is my number one wrestler.
And he was the guy that really broke into the mainstream in America. He obviously
the first British dude to do it.
He was William Regal did it later on. There were others that certainly picked up, and later today you obviously had in the UK your Drew McIntyres, Becky Lynch's. You've had other people that have come in that Soraya's, I think, obviously maybe the most biggest one right now at the moment. You've got Gunther, who've been in the UK, but in terms of you can go down the list, but it was a different world, and the British Bulldog was the first to do that. So with this battle royal, I mean, Hammerhead Smith Sr. is in attendance. Obviously, Hammerhead Smith Jr. is in the ring for the world title. I mean, so does that add prestige knowing that you have somebody like a Hammerhead Smith Sr. who's going to be watching? Because we've had Hammerhead Jr. on here, and he talks about his father a lot. So talk about maybe that and what this adds to the show itself.
Most definitely it adds prestige, because the thing is, when you've got Hammerhead Smith Sr. Coming into the building, and then you've got Hammerhead Smith Jr. competing in the building, like that's second generation, which is not something we see much of in British wrestling. You've got Zaya Brookside. She's second generation. She's absolutely phenomenal. And then you've also had Davey Boy Smith Jr. or whatever, under whatever different guise he's been using. So it's nice to see second generation wrestlers coming through, and then bringing their parents, who are legends, to the British scene, and bringing them with them and getting their seal of approval.
Absolutely.
It's very, very important to us, because we need to know that we're keeping the legacy burning in the correct manner, and that we're showing the business the respect it deserves.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's why this roster is so unique. Because yes, you have the younger talent, but you have those veterans that command that respect. Certainly Martin Kirby, Rockstar Rob Bagwell, our current champion, obviously
I
our
cannot
boss.
wait to see Rob Bagwell wrestle again. Like, what a talent!
Yep.
What a talent!
I've seen him in the ring in other promotions, and I've had him on here in the past, in a past life when he was a champion in another promotion. I know what Rob can bring to the table, but I think this is why Firestar is so unique, Mr. Tunney, is because I think we have those things here where we have that roster that respects the business, has the up and comers, has the people that stand out here. I do have some more comments. Let me read them off. Point I made Big Duncan first match of 42. So listen,
There you
that's
go.
and
Big
there's
Duncan
a
was the same
guy
age as me when he made his
and
first
and
match. Then
and there's a guy that is wrestling, or he was wrestling in Impact Wrestling, and he was seven. He's a big deal in the Indies. He's done some stuff, I think, in Ring of Honor. It's I believe it's Action Mike Jackson. Mike Jackson
yeah.
is like 72, and he wrestled a match against Trey Miguel. This had to have been maybe like 3 or 4 months ago on Impact, and he was doing like moonsaults outside the ring. So
It's
not
just
to say
ridiculous. The guy's
anybody
72.
well, but he's a big deal. I was listening to somebody talk about this on a podcast. He's like, well, he actually, the guy is just in that kind of shape. But the point is, any age you can do it. Beetlejuice sounds like a place me and Bella would love. We will visit it before the show. And did I hear correctly that your dog has a mohawk? You must bring the dog to the show. So does your dog have a mohawk?
I can probably get it in on camera if I can find it.
Well, if you have a dog has a mohawk, I mean, I've heard a lot of things in my career, but that's a first. I mean, certainly don't disrupt the house, but
No,
talk
no,
about
no.
talk about your business though. Actually, let's talk about what you do, because I think you mentioned community, and formally, just for those that are watching, especially those that are going to be out there, maybe in the ring tomorrow, or even those that are going to be in attendance. Talk about your business and what you do with that.
So I'm a barber, basically. That's oversimplifying what I do, but I was a hairdresser, or what you guys in America would call a Cosmo,
Okay.
to start with, and I found that I didn't like colouring, but I really like cutting, and you couldn't separate the two here. And then it went from cutting to like just doing gents hair, and I don't know, every single company I've worked for before I got my own business, I just found that I didn't like the way certain aspects of the business would run. And it wasn't just one business, it was every single business that I worked for. And then, that saying that sometimes you've got to look at yourself and ask you if it's you, and it's not the other people at the
Well,
I kind of had that thought process going on. I was like, do you know what? I need to run my own business. So I've seen a lot of businesses do a lot of things, big and small, do a lot of things wrong, but I've also seen them do good things as well. But I've taken the wrong things and made sure that they don't happen. They're just like over there. It's just a barbershop. It's a nice, friendly atmosphere. If you walk in that shop, it really does look like the inside of my head when you walk in.
Okay.
Big bright
I'll
colours
take your word
everywhere,
for it.
championship titles everywhere,
Sure.
arcade machines,
Oh, well, the arcade machine's pretty cool. I have to say, there's always been one of the things I've always wanted was an arcade
Oh, that's
machine.
brilliant.
Yeah, but
14,000 games of madness.
oh wow. Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I think that's always what a barber shop has been. Is people, I guess, at least for me, what I would see growing up in Brooklyn, New York, you'd always pass by a barber shop and people would be talking. They'd be talking
It's a
about whatever
community
goes on.
thing.
Exactly. So I think that's why this all fits here. So I have to ask you, is before I get to final thoughts here in a few minutes, I want to ask you a couple of more general questions about the show. I mean, what are your goals here as general manager?
To sell seats, put on good family-friendly wrestling that people want to come back to time and time again. Like, this is the best chance that Ripperden's had at something being in the community so permanently and so often. So, like they said in Wayne's World, if you put it on, they will come. And like they said in School of Rock, it only takes one good rock show to start a legendary run. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
let's put that rock show on and let's make this work. Let's do it.
You
I
know,
can't wait for it to start.
it's funny. I've interviewed musicians before in the past, and one of the lines is, "All you need is just one hit, that one song.
Just one.
That's it.
Yeah, just one.
That's it. So all you need is one." And BMD says, "May pop in tomorrow and say hello. Have a go on the arcade." So fun question that is,
Yeah, man, do it.
what's the favorite arcade game? What's the favorite?
Mortal Kombat, dude. Mortal Kombat.
Okay, you know
The
what?
original Mortal Kombat is the best game ever made.
I thought you were gonna say like Pac-Man or something like that. I thought you were
No.
gonna.
I'm a B. Mortal Kombat, dude.
Okay.
WrestleFest and Mortal Kombat, the two best arcade games ever.
What was the other one other than Mortal Kombat? What was the other one?
WrestleFest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of WrestleFest. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Brilliant game.
And the Big Duncan says that he may actually join for that. So, okay. So that's cool. What would you want to say to anybody, A, in the locker room, or B, to anybody that's bought a ticket or is considering buying a ticket tomorrow night?
Just do it. The thing is, things can't happen without the public, right? So, like WWE calls the fans the WWE universe, and I strongly believe with a passion that they should keep doing that, because if you've got no one sat in seats, you've got nothing. And we want this to be a big community project where people come and get involved, enjoy the show, they can interact with the wrestlers, and they can all have a great time. That's our focus now, is putting on great family-friendly events. To the people in the locker room, what have we got to say to the people in the locker room? Listen, I'm not going to come in and lay down some heavy regime. That's not really the way I work. But at the same time, I'm firm but fair. As long as you're fair with me, I'll be fair with you. I think that's, pretty fair enough.
Let me ask you one more question before I get to final thoughts here. Let me ask you one more question, and that I see some similarities, and I'm trying to see, because you obviously know the Ripenden community better than I, but
Yeah.
what I see the possibility that Firestar could be toward Ripenden is, for example, Odyssey Pro Wrestling and Morecambe have a certain relationship. GT Ministries in Bradford. The LWF and Shorley have a certain relationship. The point I'm trying to get at is that there are companies, NBPW now in Leeds. The point is that do you see maybe what you're trying to do here with Firestar is build that relationship within the community here where Firestar and Ripenden can be synonymous, similar to, like I said, Odyssey Pro Wrestling, Welcome, LWF in Shorley, KOW in Barrow. So maybe talk to me about the GT Ministries in Bradford as well. So talk to me if that's something you see here as maybe that's the answer to the long-term goal.
Yeah, we want to plant our roots firmly in the Ripenden Club. That's where we want to keep this event. I think this talk is maybe going back out to Dudley a couple of times a year as well. But we want to plant strong roots in the Ripenden community so that the community's got something to look forward to every few weeks. The wrestling's coming back. Yeah, it was great last time. Let's go. And I've got so many friends that are coming to this event that aren't children. Although this is family friendly, I've got friends coming that are just groups of lads in the 20s and 30s that just want to come out, have a beer, and watch some wrestling.
Listen, wrestling does it. Listen, a friend of mine is a pro wrestler here in New York. He trained through House of Glory. Amazing Red was his trainer, and that's what wrestling shows at this level. Like, you just go out there, have a good time. Whether you're you're into family friendly stuff. If you guys like us that like different things, so I think it'll all be great stuff here. A couple of more comments here before I get to final thoughts. We really thank you here for the opportunity to be with us here.
No problem. Thank you for letting me be here.
Think about that. Yeah, Mortal Kombat was definitely a good one. Although I did like here in America, there was an arcade game called NBA Jam. That was kind of a game I
NBA Jam was. I'm a massive basketball mark as well.
NBA Jam. I was a kid.
NBA Jam was my jam.
That was a great arcade game. I remember growing up, I just wanted here for quarters in America to play it, but usually my parents weren't giving me the quarters. But I'm going to get to final thoughts here. I want to give you the opportunity to plug any social medias, anything else you want to say. But while I was going to do that, I have a guest here that you actually referenced at the beginning of the show here, and he's going to be in the ring tomorrow. In fact, he's going to be a part of that Big Daddy Memorial Battle Royal, and I had referenced him, and it could very well be the sequel to one of the biggest blockbusters last year called The Summer of Slugger, and I think it could very well
Oh
be
God,
The
no!
Summer of
Not this
Slugger 2.
degenerate, please no.
Forget about Spider-Man. Forget about Fast X, Indiana Jones. We have here the Slugger Daddy himself, Slugger
The
Hampton.
slugger daddy.
He's here, and he wants to say something to you, General Manager Stuart Tunney, and I speak no more. Slugger, floor is yours.
For the last 30 minutes, I've tuned into a wrestling podcast, and all I've heard is stories about video games, dogs with mohawks, and crimpers barbershops. So I'm here to remind everybody, Mr. GM Tunney, Rev, you know this already, why I need to be the name that comes out of your mouth, Sunshine, for that crimpers title. Don't laugh at me, boy. I'm here to tell you why. Slugger Hampton, multiple time tag team champion in multiple promotions, including longest reigning tag team champion in one of them. Multiple time singles champion, multiple time tournament winner. I've beat WWF Hall of Famers offspring. And you have the audacity, Tunney. Don't look at me. Don't be looking at whatever your Mohawk dog's doing. Look at me. You have the audacity to say progress to impress.
Progress to impress.
Is that how it is?
No, impress to progress.
Whatever. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do then. This is how we're going to work it. I'm going to turn up tomorrow. I'm going to enter that Slugger Hampton, Slugger Daddy Invitational Battle Royal, because that's what it's going to be called when I've won it.
Fair enough.
I'm going to smash all 10 of these people. BMD, I heard what he had to say earlier on. Easy, easy. Well, he's right about one thing. He's got a good chance about winning this because it won't be easy to throw his big ass off at top rope, will it? So if any of these competitors are like me, they'll use their brain and work together. Big Duncan's in it. Now, let me assume that he's big and his name's Duncan. That's all I know about him. Well, don't threaten me either. Jason Jacobs, is that his name? Big Bear Man. Again, big guy. I look forward to meeting him and all. I ain't got really much to say about him. Same as Palmer, veteran of this sport. He'll come in and show you how it's done until he meets me. And if I'm being honest, I can't even remember any of the rest. Oh, we've got that mass freak. Is it Caleb Carter? Don't know much about him. He'll get in my way. He gets smashed. So I'll go through 9 other people. And then I'll see you in that ring, GM Tunney. And then you will announce Slugger Hampton will face the winner of Captain Jack Sparrow versus Gru from Despicable Me.
All right, listen. You've been speaking now for about 3 minutes. And we might have spoken about crimping titles and mohawks, but all you've done for the past 3 minutes is talk about yourself and made small references to other amazing talents within the company, right? You have the same opportunity at this crimpers title. I don't even like doing that. What the hell is that? You have just as much chance as anybody else of getting your shot at that crimpers title, but you have to earn it, mate. It's not just going to be given. Right, so listen, you go away and practice more promos in the mirror talking about yourself, right? And we will see you tomorrow. And if your name gets pulled out of the hat, your name gets pulled out and you're the one that's going to go for the shot. But if it doesn't, you've got to take that on the chin and deal with it like a man. As you were, son.
I'll tell you something. 1, I hate you, mate.
It's a Mancunian turn of phrase. I do apologise.
2, I'll see you tomorrow.
Again, as I said, as you were, son. As you were.
Think on, and as you were.
Oh. What happened there?
Well, I'm going to give you some quick advice because I know Slugger Hampton. I've had him on many times. I know what he brings to the table. I've also watched him in other companies, and I saw him dominate last year in the tag team scene. And frankly, I even referenced it in GT Ministries. He nearly won that Rumble there, and it might be a different season in GT Ministries or a different situation that we have there. Tread very lightly when it comes to Slugger Hampton. That's my advice to you. You can do whatever you want. You're the GM. You're the boss. I'm not. But I've had him on. I've seen him on with other wrestlers. I've seen him handle other wrestlers in the ring. So my advice is tread very lightly tomorrow night at the Ripponton Social Club. That's all my point would be.
I will just end with saying, like you said earlier, what kind of a general manager am I going to be? I'm going to be one that doesn't go out there and command respect. I'm going to earn the respect that is
Well, you don't have
brought
Sluggers. You do not have
way.
Slugger Hampton's respect.
Do not have Slugger Hampton's respect, but that jacket patch there says El Presidente.
Now,
Right?
I do see that.
That is Spanish for untouchable.
Okay, well,
I'm only here in a managerial capacity, okay? But if Slugger Hampton pushes me too much, he will feel the wrath of the general manager, and he doesn't want that.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you say so, you say so. I will say some people have something to say. You know where I'll be, Slugger. I'm not scared of you. Slugger out first, and I'll do it for free. Well, after
Go
what I
on,
heard,
big chunk.
we'll have to find out.
I have to remain impartial now. I have to remain. But just be aware that I will come down with extreme prejudice with him if he pushes me too far.
Okay, but I'm just telling you, again, I've had him on here. I've seen him be confrontational. I've seen him go after the term, quote unquote, wrestle kids. I've seen him even confront other wrestlers and be able to handle them. I've seen him in the ring most recently in 2 other companies. One of those companies, I would argue he had maybe the tag team match of the year in GT Ministries. If there's anybody tomorrow night I might want to put my money on when it comes to winning this Big Daddy Memorial Battle Royal, it is Slugger Hampton. Like I pointed out, it very well could be the biggest blockbuster sequel of them all. Summer of Slugger 2 could be starting tomorrow night. So I would say, be careful what you wish for.
I will take heed of your warning there, Tom.
Okay, well, we'll have to see what happens. Another reason why you want to follow Firestar Championship Wrestling on Facebook and Instagram at Firestar Championship Wrestling. Is there anything else, though, that you want to say here before tomorrow night you may meet this Slugger Hampton?
Yeah, Slugger Hampton, look, I understand, you're a big case in the British scene. And you think that you're a bit of an hard nut, but you've got to understand that you don't know me and I know a lot about you. Okay? I've watched the tapes, I've watched everything that I can see on you. And while you are a bit of a head case, I'm an unknown quantity. And just behave yourself. Okay? Just behave yourself. All I'm asking you to do is behave yourself. Don't push me. Just don't push me.
All right. I mean, I know you got the tattoos. I know you know a lot of people, but he's different, man. He's a different cat, Slugger Hampton.
Well, we shall see. If we come face to face in the ring tomorrow, we'll just have to deal with it as it comes, won't we?
Well, I will tell everybody, if you are out there, you are viewing this, you are on Facebook, give a follow and like to the new page set up by our general manager, Stuart Tunney. Go out there and like his page. You have the opportunity to do that. You can also check out Firestar Championship Wrestling's page on Instagram and Facebook. One more time at Firestar Championship Wrestling. And doors open 6:15 p.m. tomorrow. 7 p.m. is when the bell rings. And be there or be square. Just a few tickets available left at the Ripponton Social Club here in the UK, and make sure you get out there and good luck, my friend. Hope to
thank you very much. I can't wait to see you all tomorrow, man.
We'll have to see. And that was the general manager here of Stuart Tunney. And I want to thank everybody that tuned in here tonight on Sportswire Radio. As we were joined here by Remus Kane, the Nonstop Action Wrestling Tag Team Champion, also BMD, the Northern Enforcer afterwards. And our general manager here, Stuart Tunney, was also interrupted by Slugger Hampton. Slugger Hampton is going to be a part of that 10-man Big Daddy Memorial Battle Royal to crown who will go and face off with the winner of Martin Kirby and there you go, Mr. Steve Valentino, to decide who wins that championship there that our general manager is holding. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. If you're on Sportswire Radio on YouTube, I should be back here tonight at some point tomorrow, UK time. I'll also have an announcement on some more coverage. If you are on YouTube, thank you for tuning in. Twitter as well, on sportnarium.com/play, where you can listen to all of my radio content. If you're on Facebook, unfortunately, I'm still locked out, but I have shared the YouTube show onto my personal Facebook page at Sportswire Radio and at Tom Bryce. So thank you for tuning in out there. And again, we'll be back here with more coverage. And thank you to all of our friends at Firestar Championship Wrestling here on the #1 global radio station that is Sportswire Radio.